Lucha-Masks.com by Pro Wrestling Revolution, bringing you, in partnership with Mask Republic, the Lucha Brothers, as well as Japanese legend Ultimo Dragon. Go to Lucha-Masks.com and fight Lucha Strong with masks from your favorite Lucha legends and Pro Wrestling Revolution luchadores. Stay safe in style and represent your favorite luchador. Get yours now at Lucha-Masks.com, powered by Pro Wrestling Revolution.
You are listening to the Lucha Central Podcast Network. And now, Lucha Central Weekly.
Welcome to the Lucha Podcast. This is the podcast that lets you know all of the latest happening in the world of Lucha Libre. Each team our week discusses news and events from, well, of course, this past week, covering Mexico-based promotions like AAA and CMLL, as well as top independents, along with luchador-related news from WWE, AEW, MLW, Ring of Honor, Impact Wrestling, more. The Lucha Central Weekly podcast is part of the Lucha Central Podcast Network on luchacentral.com. This podcast and other Central Podcast Network are available on central.com and all major podcast platforms, including iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Podbay, and Speaker. I'm Miranda Morales. I am one of the co-hosts of the Lucha Central Weekly podcast, and I said we. I mean, there's an I in that, but there's no I in team. So I am very good at this podcast with two great hosts. The first one is the dashing Murphy. Welcome aboard to this boat that I have. That's our podcast.
Yeah, I need one. We've had like 5 inches of rain in the last 2 days, so a little boat would be nice right now. Yeah, it's been crazy here.
Yes. Well.
Yeah.
Yes, and also coming along on board of this ship all the way. I mean, you're pretty surrounded by water yourself. You're actually, out of the three of us, you actually are the closest to water. And who am I talking to? Who? It's Brendan Barr.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, yes. I don't know. I think I'm SummerSlam on the mind, summertime, which is why I got into this boat metaphor. I mean, suppose rumors WWE, looking to having SummerSlam on a boat or some kind of, so
love it.
Maybe that's why the forefront.
I'm good with that. I love boats. You are right. I've got the harbor right over there. I've got friends that do harbor tours.
That's so cool.
It's boat season right now, and it's great.
That's awesome.
I mentioned the Lucha Central Podcast Network. I feel like if we were going to be on a big boat, I'd hope we could bring everybody from Central Podcast Network because, I mean, at this point, there are so many podcasts, all of them fantastic, and there's just a lot of us on this network. I think the only place all of us would be able to fit is a boat at this point. But I bring
a luxury liner.
Right, luxury. We'll take that to the bosses. We'll be like, hey, bosses, you should get a boat. Even though, maybe none of us can get on a boat at this time. One day.
Future boat.
Yeah.
Future boat. So yes, the reason I bring that up is I really tried to segue. I really reached for a segue, but here we go. I did this because we, at the Lucha Libre podcast, we want to plug a brand new podcast coming to the net. It's going to debut this Sunday night live on Troll Facebook page. It is Photo Versus. It is the only show, pretty much one of the only show of its kind. 2 photographers go head-to-head on live video discussing their favorite photos of a particular topic. Topics can range from a certain wrestler, a type of match, a type of wrestling maneuver, whatever it may be. It's going to be very. I love the theme.
I do too.
We invite the best to look back at some of their most notable work. Interaction is encouraged, so feel free. The series will be bilingual and Spanish, as host Jerry Villagrana from JVDA Photography speaks to photographers from both sides of the border. Weeks will be in English as Jerry welcomes Josh Garcia from Rudos Photography on the show to discuss their favorite photo of the legend.
I can practice my Spanish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this one.
Jerry. Yeah, he was on our weeks ago when we were talking a lot about Angel Garza and his photography in Mexico. He teased us about this when he was on our show, so we wanted to make sure everyone knew now this show is now going to be available, and it will be a video show. Very cool with the imagery. I think it does feel like one of a kind. So make sure to check out the Lucha Central Facebook page this Sunday. More available on Central.com as well. So just make sure you stay tuned.
Look for us in the chat room. I can't promise we'll be there, but we probably will.
Yeah. It's probably going to be there. What? As much as we can. I would if everyone Miranda saying random things like it's the 90s.
As long as your watch doesn't start talking, okay.
Fair enough. Well, speaking of wise advice and information from Brendan, beginning of every show, Brendan, we're setting the stage for the Road Back to show. So let us know what's happening with the Road Back Lucha shows in Mexico.
All right, so we're going to start the same place I normally start. Mexico City is still orange, and part of that is because the updates happen on Friday. So when you're listening to this, it could be yellow, but as I'm recording this, it's still orange. We are, once again, yellow is where we can start maybe doing events in Mexico City. But right now we're kind of hoping that yellow even gets announced before I get that excited about it. If they don't, then it'll be 2 weeks after that. And we're rapidly approaching half a year. So here's hoping. I've got nothing wood around me to knock on. Here's hoping that some good news comes out of that soon. I heard it. I heard somebody did it.
That was a knock somewhere. Okay. Or we're living the horror show now because someone knocked and
oh no.
This is how it starts.
I'm not letting him in. I'm just not going to do that. The other thing I've got for the Road Back to shows is a little helpful person told me that Lucha Time was doing a bunch of stuff and that they had spoken with one of our other Lucha Central podcasts, but unfortunately I was unable to get a lot of information on that at the time. However, while I was Googling this and trying to find contacts to get me solid information, I found a Lucha Time live stream on Facebook. So they are, as we're recording this, they are broadcasting some sort of event. So look for more information on future events to come in from us. I've been told I have exclusive information that may be showing up at some point. And hopefully we'll have some results from this event for you in the Indie Roundup next week.
Oh, exciting.
That will be very exciting. Stay tuned, everyone. Well, I mean, that's a big segue because I know we were predicting the future with next week's Indie Roundup, but you got news for us this week on the Indie Roundup. Is that correct?
I do have we have some things to talk about for sure.
All right. Well, let's play it.
Once again, thank you for that, Dusty. That really gets me in the mood every time.
Like Clint Eastwood.
Speaking of events and crossed wires, we had Lucha Vanguardia attempted an event this last weekend. Some people are probably already a little aware of what's going on, but let's go over this. They were supposed to have an auto lucha event. I was super excited by this. Like it was going to be on a smaller scale than AAA is going to do, but we could get that on the palette of what it could look like. Unfortunately, I, after once again, folks, I don't want this to sound like this is what I do on Saturdays. After several hours of not being able to connect to anything, I found out that the event had been postponed and then canceled. So if you're listening to this and you are producing shows, please find a way to let me know directly, because I would love to not sit in front of the computer for 4 hours.
That's a long time.
It really is.
They've had kind of a precedent because their previous show, I believe about a month ago, I think that had a lag time of 30 minutes. Of just saying playing the same things over and over again. So I could see why, you gave them the doubt for that long.
Well, yeah, and it's not a proper indie show on either side of the U.S.-Mexico border if it starts on time. Like, something has gone wrong if it starts on time. I'm going to pull this back from the 4-hour waiting period. I'm probably going to give up sooner in the future, but 4 hours worked for me last time, so that's what I gave them. But yeah, so the event got canceled. There was rumors about that. Fantastic rumor. Normally we don't give rumors out because we want to have facts, but people addressed the rumor, so here we go. There was people talking about rival promotion potentially to the government to have the show, because that's ultimately what happened. Is I believe the government stepped in and said you can't. So here we are, and that's what people are now talking. There's more chatter about why the show was canceled, that the show was canceled. So the fact that we're in the middle of a pandemic and they probably needed to meet greater health precautions than they did, way less into the public. Maybe somebody from DTU or one of the other promotions had something to do with it. So much so that Crazy Boy from DTU had to make a public statement to say he didn't do it. And then people are now just talking about, well, of course he said that, because that's what you would say if you called to have the show canceled.
Right.
So,
well, and he said it in a way that was kind of self-promotional. He's like, I didn't even know it existed until people called me and were like, hey, are some of your curtain jerkers having a show?
Yeah. So that's almost a sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
But, Brendan, I'm curious. So, what kind of implications would this have? I think it's been noted before with the rivalry between independent promotions in Mexico, but so far we hadn't heard of anyone intentionally going to happen. So, from your perspective, what implications could this have if there really was that from somebody else that ended up getting the Vanguardia show canceled?
So just in general, if they're calling the police on each other and getting shows shut down, promotional license will get cut back at a period of time where a lot of promotions aren't even able to run. So to point out, we've only talked about 3 or 4 companies on the Indie Roundup on the Mexico side of the border. TU and Vanguardia are 2 of them that we've talked about more than once. So if we lose the ability, one of them loses the ability to run shows, that whole roster of people is now kind of out of work for even longer. The health thing is one thing, and I totally don't want anyone to take any risks that they shouldn't have, but they're all trying to be responsible adults and juggle their ability to make money versus their ability to stay safe. And closing a show down will do that, and that it risks running longer than the quarantine. If Mexico does go to yellow this week, and Vanguardia is being sanctioned like another show, then you're going to have wrestlers that aren't able to work once they're legally able to do shows, because now they're being told they can't do a show until it's green for them or whatever they decide to do for their sanctions this time.
And there's also kind of an issue where there's no honor among outlaws, and once somebody turns in, like Vanguardia, for instance, and how long before somebody turns into you, and then how long before somebody turns in another one. So it opens a door that, shouldn't have been opened if it was a interference-based situation rather than a general health situation.
Right. If somebody's mother called because they were worried that their baby boy or girl was going to go get the virus. That's one. But now, because the rumors are that shows are doing this to each other, even if it's not, that ups the chance that a show is going to know. Small wrestlers are a small community. A comment that was said before, like the curtain, other thing I started to say. They're the people that work at that level that set up the chairs and volunteer and then show up with their gear, go to all the shows. So they're always talking about who else is running a show. So sooner or later, you're going to, if it turns into we're going to shut other people that can't run, then nobody's going to be.
Wow. So this really could have implications for the future of whether it's ability for people, luchadors, to work, to trust within the business, to promotions just being able to operate, make some money during this time. Because as you mentioned, at least Mexico does have some colored tiered system, but also as you indicated, they're taking this on a weekly basis. So, they're still in orange. Even, after that, they're still yellow, and it seems like it still will take a while before Mexico will get, or at least Mexico City, but in general, probably the rest of the country will get to a green level. And even then, I think that, this could have just implications for the long run with the whole environment of Lucha Libre there. If people feel like, too cautious or they can't trust each other, that could really cause some issues in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. To clarify on the color thing, too, I haven't talked a lot about it because I don't want to look too far into the future. But to move from yellow to green, you have to stay at yellow for, I believe, 4 weeks without.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it has to. You have to stay at that level. You can't pop back up and then come back down. It will reset every time you. So you're looking at a significant period of time, no matter what. And then right now they're still only evaluating every 2 weeks. So all of that's not. We're not doing much better here in Seattle. We are kind of in a holding pattern too. So my heart's going out to all of these companies trying to figure out something and then realizing that the government just is not able to support us yet. But that's what I've got for the Indie Roundup. To bring that back, hopefully I will have some results for you from Lucha Time next week, and maybe we'll have a Vanguardia or news story by then. And certainly, if anything else pops up on either side of the border that I think is going to be of interest to you people, you folks, let me know. Or if you can let me know, or I will grab it and watch it. And I will probably sit down for at least 4 hours so that I get a chance for it.
Thank you so much, Brendan, for the road back to shows and our Indie Roundup. Next, we're going to Denise Salcedo with this week's Lucha Central.
Hey everyone, it's Denise Salcedo here in Lucha Central with a reminder of where and when to catch your favorite shows each week, or when to try a new one. Tuesday, Mass, and Mayhem is back with special guest Argenis to talk about his time in Lucha Underground, his family legacy, and his future. Plus, the crew puts more names on their wall of shame and hits a number of hot topics, including AEW versus NXT and a particular video that made waves on social media last week. Check out the premiere video stream every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern on the Lucha Central YouTube channel and at luchacentral.com. Then listen to it on your favorite podcast platforms every Wednesday. This Tuesday night, there will be no Wrestle Boss with Bobby Chulo, but check out the show's archives and recent interviews with pro wrestling and MMA stars. And tune in next Tuesday when Lucha Underground's Mariachi Loco and the Crash Lucha Libre's Mecha Whoop stop by the show. Wednesday nights live on Facebook, it's Spanish show La Mesa de los Márgaros, giving you both the news and the chisme from around the lucha world. Find the video version on Facebook Wednesday night through Friday, and then Saturdays download the audio version in podcast form. This week, Supernova stops by along with CEO of the new Lucha Time promotion, who will share his vision for the group, plus a look at the Comic-Con panel about Lucha Libre as Mexican cultural heritage. Thursdays, it's straight out of the bodega with Papo Esco and PWR promoter Gabriel Ramirez. This week, it's part 2 of their jam-packed interview with former WWE superstar Ricardo Rodriguez as they talk his frustrations and ultimately asking for his release from WWE, working in Puerto Rico and Europe, training aspiring wrestlers in India for the Great Khali, and the launch of the indie scene in the country. On Friday, it's your double dose of Lucha Central Weekly podcast, one in English y el otro en español. Lucha Central Weekly is where you'll find all the top stories of the week, both inside and out of the ring from Mexico and anywhere luchadores are in action across the globe. Catch up on the entire week in just 90 minutes and hear coverage of news you are not likely to find on any other podcast. Be sure to subscribe and follow all of your favorite Lucha Central Network series on your favorite podcast platforms. And please be sure to give a rating and review to help more fans find the shows that you love. For now, this is Denise Salcedo signing off from Lucha Central Central. Have a great week.
Once again, a big thank you to Denise Salcedo, who does our weekly Lucha Central, giving you the highlights on all of the podcasts on Central Podcast Net. Next, well, we have Dashing One, Dusty, who's going to be going into some SmackDown and Raw this past week.
Yeah, we had a surprising amount of Lucha information, or Lucha programming, I guess you would call it, in WWE this week. This past Friday, the 24th, on SmackDown, we had an exciting Fatal 4-Way match between Gran Metallik, Lince Dorado, Chad Gable / Shorty G. I hate that, so I'm going to refer to him as Chad Gable from here on out. And Drew Gulak.
Shorty G is great. I love that name.
What?
I'm not a fan.
Not a fan. No, not a fan.
No,
He's a man.
I was the
a
smallest
man, not
kid
a
in
boy.
class every year, so I'm not feeling the Shorty G.
Hey, I have been short my whole life, and I love the fact that he is owning up to it and just like, yeah, I'm short, whatever.
He's not even that short. Like, I think he's as tall as Adam Cole.
Yeah, he's only short in the world of professional wrestling. Let's be fair. Like, if I were to shake hands with him right now, I'd probably be the chest. But, you know, he's in the world of pro wrestling, so Shorty G. I like it. Sorry, keep going.
No, yeah. So anyway, Gran Metallik, Lince Dorado, Chad Gable, Shorty G, and Drew Gulak to #1 contendership to face AJ Styles in a title match next week, which would be this week, I guess, for you guys, on SmackDown. And in an exciting and a really surprising moment, after some amazing 2-on-1 spots where he really looked like he was going to lose, Gran Metallik got the win. And then after the match, AJ walked in the ring. He gave him a handshake with Metallik, shake the champion's hand. But instead, AJ told him what the 5 fingers said to the face and slapped him. And then he thought better of stepping to my man, Lince Dorado. He didn't want to slap him.
Nope.
But then Metallik showed him how luchadors do it and slapped AJ back and Hurricane Rana'd him clear out of the ring and celebrated his win with Lince. This was actually a really, really cool match. And if you're a Gran Metallik / Mascara Dorada fan, you've got to check this match out. Like, this is probably his best WWE main roster match I've ever seen. And good. I mean, like, go ahead.
Assuming that Sammy Guevara doesn't reveal himself to be Gran Metallik, AJ Styles is going to get some serious lucha chops this week, and I'm going to be down for it.
It's going to be a fantastic match. Very, very good. And very different. I agree. It was very unexpected that he won. But a big congratulations.
I fully will admit that I was barely even watching. Like, I had it on because I was home, and I'm like, oh well, this is the Lucha House Party match, so I will at least put my eyes in the direction of the screen right now.
Yeah.
And then the win actually happened, and I had to stop and rewind because I needed to watch it again.
Yeah, I was so surprised. And AJ, I thought, really made Metallik look good at the end there. Like, he really treated him like a legitimate threat. And,
absolutely.
I loved everything about it. Like, I know that he's not gonna. Well, I don't know that, I guess, but we'll see what happens when he wrestles AJ Styles. I am so excited for that match. But even if he doesn't win, I think that he will have succeeded in moving up several notches in the eyes of the average viewer. Because those of us that know him from Lucha and remember Mascara Dorada, we know what he can do, and like he's just barely getting the
where he
stretch
came in second.
Mm-hmm. Like he was so impressive, and
no. The only way, in my opinion, that they can ruin is if they take him out of the match. Like if we get him removed from the put Randy Orton or somebody else in there that Vince thinks is more main event. That's really the only way.
Yeah, I've been afraid we'd see Matt Riddle under a mask.
Yeah, there it is.
Gran Metallik. Like that. Man, they listen to the show. Don't give them ideas. They listen.
Putting that evil out there.
Yeah. But no, I mean, as a Gran Metallik fan, I am so excited to watch this, and even though I am deadly afraid that something terrible is going to happen, I'm going to be watching it with nervous excitement. By the time you guys are listening to it, I will probably be watching it with nervous excitement and talking to you about it on Twitter. So
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, WWE just kind of conditions us to have the rug pulled out from under us on everything good that we like. So I feel trepidatious about this one, but I'm excited. And then this past Monday, the 27th, on Monday Night Raw, we had some fun lucha action. Dominic Mysterio returned to Raw. But first, we had a three-way tag match for the number one contenders position between Angel and Andrade, with the Viking Raiders and the new tag team of formerly Prince Puma, now again Ricochet, and Cedric Alexander. And did anybody else think that Angel and Andrade were already number one contenders? I thought it happened right after the Street Profits Viking Raiders thing that they became number one contenders.
They did, but then they had a match. So as we had thought they were going to have that match at Extreme Rules, they ended up having it the Monday after. So was that last week?
Makes
I
sense.
can't tell time anymore.
That's been my problem. It all blurs together in the COVID era.
And
so
that'll tell you
that match, and then they became number one contender.
Yeah, and that'll tell you how they've been doing with this up and down booking, because you forgot that they already had a title match because it was such a non-event.
Probably wrote a paragraph or two about it, and it already kind of slipped my mind. But this was actually a surprisingly great match. Angel and Andrade worked really well together. Finally, Angel got the pin on Cedric Alexander off a wing clipper to retain their number one championship. I liked the match. I liked seeing Angel and Andrade with Ricochet and Cedric. I hope they kind of focus more on that for a little while. That's so fresh compared to the Viking Raiders thing, and it just kind of feels like they're in a holding pattern. So if we're not going to get, something till SummerSlam, let's get some fresher matchups and see them. And of course, like I mentioned, with Ricochet having been Prince Puma on Lucha Underground and having legit lucha chops, it would be really cool to see what they could all do together in the ring. I think they could really make each other look insanely good. I mean, they could easily steal the show if they wanted to. Even Ricochet, I mean, you talk about people that haven't got a chance to shine in WWE. Like Ricochet, I feel like, has really not gotten a chance to show what he can do.
He's also struggled, and we haven't even, he's struggled so much we haven't even remembered that he was Prince Puma to talk about exciting things that have happened until now.
Yeah.
So,
but like I say, I hope they focus more on that and less on the stale thing with the Raiders. But then after that, we had Dominic. He was here to confront Seth Rollins. Seth got to the ring first. He recapped the entire feud, and then he welcomed Dominic to the ring, and he offered Dominic a hug. But of course, Dominic was there for revenge, not for a hug. So he just started to fight Seth immediately, and it led to a fight on the outside with a save from Aleister Black before Murphy was able to gouge Black's eye on the steps, and Dominic showed up with a kendo stick and beat them all like a piñata all the way to the back. And that led to a main event between Buddy Murphy and Humberto Carrillo. And this was a great match, and I hope it's the beginning of these guys entering the top of the card. These are easily guys that could be the guy. Either one of them could easily be the guy, especially if they're wanting to kind of approach Australia and Latin America and those kind of regions and have people at the top of the card that can go there and tour as a legitimate champion and a fan favorite. Either one of these guys could be the guy. And the match they had was great, and I think that it'll hopefully be the start of some larger exposure for them within WWE and just the public eye at large. Brendan, what did you think of the match?
I thought it was...
any of it.
I actually had more hope and optimism out of the match for the same reason you did. Like my big note, like I forgot who. I don't want to say forgot. I was less interested in who won or lost that match versus the fact that you had both of those guys in the main event on Raw, right? Like that is
that's a big deal.
That's some belief, yeah.
And we've heard recently that Vince kind of wants to elevate new stars and that he's realized that that's where he made his mistake. And so hopefully this is the beginning of a trend of kind of building some of these guys. And I mean, like, if you were going to build a wrestling show, guys like Humberto Carrillo and Buddy Murphy and Angel and Andrade, they would be the guys I wanted to build my show around. Like, if I had big money, that's where I'd throw my big money.
We can't leave Ricochet out of that either.
No, I mean, Ricochet. And they're kind of teasing something interesting there, too, with MVP, with Ricochet and Cedric Alexander. And So I think that... Go ahead.
No, the potential... This is what's nice thing about the WWE is that they have this way of doing things that are interesting and tantalizing and make me want to check it out, and then to the point we made earlier, then they pull the rug out later. So I'm again trying to, but to what you said is it is your main event crew right there, the 6 guys.
Oh yeah,
you're not.
And any of them could be, any of the tag guys could easily be a single star. I mean, obviously Ricochet's done it before on Lucha Underground. Cedric Alexander was a star during the Cruiserweight tournament. I remember people chanting "Sign Cedric," you know? And like, so these guys are guys that could easily be the next, you know, I mean, I don't want to compare them to like the Bret Hart or Stone Cold or any of those guys like in nature, but I mean at that level. There were so many top of the card guys back then that rotated in and out, and these guys could easily be that kind of crew where you had the Undertaker crew and the Hart family and the Clique, and I mean, like, all those guys were top of the card guys. And so not with the politics. Go ahead.
No, they were absolutely the guys that you could see at the beginning of a show, and they would announce a match for somebody, and people would have their butts glued to seats all the way through the show to see that main event. But to the point that we haven't been, and I just keep hearing names and realizing that we haven't had a lucha guy that's been in that discussion since Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah,
it's been a long time. I mean, we're due a strong luchador at the top of the card.
Well, and now it's a good time because you have empty arenas. You can really let storylines formulate. I feel like previously, if a crowd wasn't receptive to it, that would influence how successful a story could go. And sometimes crowds just don't have patience. We just got to look in the mirror sometimes and say, we run out of patience and don't let things grow organically or just grow at all. So this is really a good time to help establish them as stars and not have that concern of maybe an audience, a live audience, not be as familiar with them. Because you also, we've all been there as well. When you go to a WWE show, especially a Raw or SmackDown, you have hardcore WWE fans and also some wrestling fans, but a lot of them are just solely WWE fans. And a lot of them are very home to those larger stars, to a Randy Orton, to a Brock Lesnar, to maybe even now a Drew McIntyre, AJ Styles, even that. And that, the fact that maybe they aren't familiar with some of these other stars makes them lose their attention, and then that just comes out in like silence from the crowd or boredom. So now they can really cultivate this through TV and, you know, allow the home audience to get familiar with them, so that hopefully when people are able to get back in arenas, they're natural for them, or booing them, you know, say Shea or Humberto, you know, that fans get behind them because they've already seen so much of that work on Raw.
And they're connected to the storylines they've seen. Mm-hmm. I love that perspective on it. I need to start reminding my friends more that that's what we need to be doing too. Like, no, guys, let's look at it this way. Listen to this bit that Miranda said. Listen to that, and then
listen to me. I'm doing this RVD.
That's right.
You literally not have my 2 thumbs up. Listen to me.
Yeah.
And I hope that all of this is trying to find a strong luchador, or at least a Latin American star that would really stick for them. It seems like something they've tried a few times. Alberto Del Rio and the original Sin Cara were misfires that, you know, I don't know if it's been as big of an issue now in the empty arena era, but they were misfires for WWE. And so they've shown that they want to have that kind of strong presence, you know, in Latin America. And so I hope that they're using this to try to find out who works. And I hope they are going to find out that all these guys work. You know, like, these are all guys they want at the top of the card regardless.
That's my dream world. I mean, the good news for me is that even if the WWE doesn't do it, because they've been in the WWE, somebody's going to pick them up and put them on T at some point. So
yeah, they're all moving way up now. And, well, I remember when Angel Garza was on Impact, you know, with Laredo Kid. And then he was on NXT, and now he's on WWE. And so I think he's somebody who charisma, I mean, like, he's always going to be on TV, and he's quickly worked his way up in the last couple of years.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think that in a couple of years that hopefully he's, you know, the top guy. He's our new... Like that people think of AJ Styles or whatever in his championship.
As long as he keeps his head on straight, maybe that new wife of his will help him.
Yes, Garza got married. I didn't want to forget that. To Zaida Alonso, who is a sports announcer, I believe, and I believe based in Monterrey. And I actually talked to Jerry, who we mentioned earlier in research for this, because he was on he mentioned the version of The Bachelor where he unmasked several years ago, but this is not the same girl from The Bachelor. That was a question a lot of people had and nobody had answers for, so I got together with Jerry and we kind of looked into it, and it is not the same girl. Okay. So, yeah, that may be news you can't get anywhere else at the moment.
Right on, yeah. You heard it here. And a big congratulations to Angel, too.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. From all of us at Lucha Central, we'd like to extend our happiness and congratulations to them both.
So, moving on from Raw and SmackDown, Dusty, you're going to continue with this week's Lucha Libre with AEW.
Yes, this week, first we had AEW Dark, and we had quite a bit of lucha action, fantastic lucha action on AEW Dark. We had Orange Cassidy defeating Serpentico. This was actually a fun match, and I wish it had more time. Serpentico actually got in a ton of offense. He wrestled smart. He avoided the Superman punch, but he was pinned after rolling for flex. He let his kind of pride and bravado get in there, and Orange Cassidy, you know, he's an opportunist, and he took advantage of the moment and hooked the leg and rolled him up for the pin. I hope we actually get more of this. This wasn't a feud that I knew I wanted, but it was really good, and I loved the way they worked together.
Yeah, they were great together.
And then we had Sammy Guevara defeating Fuego del Sol. This was a match to reintroduce Sammy, and it kind of felt like it. But, the GTH at the end looked brutal. And it made Sammy look and feel like a legitimate competitor and threat in the ring. It made Fuego del Sol look incredibly tough. Lowrider came out at the end. He took another GTH. This was actually a great match. You've got to check out the AEW Dark, and then the main event of Dark, or the final event, if you will, was Santana and Ortiz, Proud and Powerful, defeating Private Party and SCU. This match was like a high energy finish to a long show, but I actually found myself losing track a few times. There were several moments of both members of the team in the ring, and maybe it was just kind of viewers fatigue, but I had a harder time keeping up with everything than I usually do in an AEW tag match. And I also, I really missed the tag ropes on AEW. I felt like they gave it a more sporting feel, and you can use them to increase the tension. But there's no more.
About that, I just feel like that's optional now. That's not something general practice at AEW.
Yeah. I miss the tag ropes. With their focus on great tag team work and great tag team action, I wish they would, kind of take those little steps to help maintain the kind of more legitimate and focused feel, and kind of help it make more sense of who's on the outside and who's the tagged man, and just little details like that. What did you think? What did you guys think of Dark this week? It was the longest Dark they'd ever had, but it was also like a Lucha fan's dream.
Yeah.
And
this was one of my favorite episodes of Dark, and I've been enjoying the heck out of them for a while.
Oh, me too.
They've been giving us the luchadors for a while on Dark, and I mean, in this one we got not only, I guess Sammy was sort of a squash match, but Sammy is also a luchador, so it was little lucha on lucha violence there, and I had some social media points on that match where Sammy was going against Fuego del Sol. On Sammy's blog that he put up, he gets into the car with both of those guys and drives back to the hotel. So they had some words for him. Well worth checking out to see what happened on that.
And
it
was
really
funny how Sammy had mentioned he had a gift for Fuego del Sol, and it was the gift of a match with him on Dark. So
he's like, you got me a match, and he's like, yeah, but it's against you. Yeah, it was just amazing. The Sammy's vlog, I wish they had another show that was on TV that shared the being the elite stuff, the pertinent stuff, at least in Sammy's vlog. And MJF had a great social media clip this week where his lawyer, I believe, was kind of yelling at an assistant, and then he approved of it. There are just so many great moments on social media that I wish that had a larger audience. It would really help build the story.
It's true. AEW fans need to see more of AEW performers on social media, because they're all doing the work.
Good.
I also have notes on he's been hilarious this whole week. I've told Dusty and Miranda about some of these, so I may get smaller laughs for him this time around, but he's been posting pictures of Darth Vader saying, I bet that was Sandy too. He showed up this week, according to him, he showed up this week with 9 padlocks on his gear bag. I mean, the episode of Sammy stuff went up. Serpentico did appear in Sammy's vlog as well, and he's using that as evidence that Sammy stole his gear. He is on fire too, and I really wanted to give Serpentico a shout out because he's been keeping me amused at work this entire week.
Yes, he's continued also to get praise for wearing a facial mask on while he has his mask on. So I've seen some of that still circulating on social media. Double masking still. Serpentico is just gaining that social presence. He's earning every second of it.
And he deserves it.
Absolutely. And I did have one note, which I think is probably going to wind up segueing us into the Dynamite match. To your point, was definitely a little more chaotic and a little more. Actually went back and watched in comparison the opening match, and I felt like they both had similar issues. But what I liked better was that when Santana and Ortiz were in control of the action, things did slow back down a little bit, and there was a little bit of sanity there. So, the shining note again is that the workhorses that we love on this show are the ones that are actually able to still the chaos a little bit and pull out some stuff that is really watchable and really fun.
All right, and then on Dynamite, we had start out the show, we had a big 10-man tag match. Jurassic Express with the Best Friend, which were Orange Cassidy and Best Friends, and they defeated the Inner Circle. This was a slow starter, but it really picked up steam as the match kind of went on, and it was really fun by the end. I loved getting to see Soros and Jake Hager in the ring together. I definitely want more of that. I just love seeing those two big dudes, and they always give us that when they match them up, but never quite enough. Matt Hardy showed up and continued his feud with Sammy by tossing him off the top rope at the end of the match, and it allowed Luchasaurus to hit the choke slam and get the win for their team. This was a fun tag team match, but again, there was a lot going on, and it was hard to tell who was the legal man. And but fun tag team match, and if you like Luchasaurus, you got a lot of Luchasaurus in this match.
Yeah, almost too much.
And then we had Diamante versus Shida.
Yes.
This was, like a tough match. Like these, many. The chops were
so many chops.
Oh my gosh, yeah, you could hear them slapping the meat.
Yep.
You know, it was intense. I mean, the win was always kind of given for Shida on this one, but I mean, the drama and the brutality of the match were amazing. And if you want to see a match where they go hard, they went hard in this match.
I knew they would. I absolutely knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
Just like last week where you had Diamante and Ivelisse. Like, there's no way those women can be in the ring and not just give 150% or whatever absurd number you want to give it. But yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. She went from not being on the show at all like 4 weeks ago to instantly being one of the toughest competitors for the title we've ever seen. And she has just really taken the opportunity and run with it, with her talent, and I am so impressed and can't wait to see what they do. She still had on the LAX gear this week, which I thought was interesting. Yeah. I thought that Conan owned the name, from my understanding, but I don't know that. And so it'll be... Yeah. Go ahead.
They didn't call out the LAX was on there. Her name is also on there, so they may just be ignoring the LAX as a minor thing and not talking about that, just to avoid issues with it. But
I hope it's built into something, though.
Me too. An interesting thing is that first off, I wanted to note that she had a vignette this week too. So
she did.
They should have given them both vignettes last week, but she got the one this week, and she killed it. But also, she has not officially signed. Like, there has not been a graphic that says Diamante is AEW. So
correct, yeah. Well, and another interesting thing that happened that maybe we'll see some more is that they did reveal the rules of the Deadly Draw tag team tournament. So with
excited.
That, there will be 16 competitors, and they're going to be selecting their partners at random. There's going to be colored poker chips, and when you pick the same colored poker chip as another person, that will be your tag partner. And as we saw yesterday on Dynamite, it doesn't always mean that it's going to be someone who's currently on the roster. So my hope is that both Diamante and Ivelisse are somewhere in the mix. But it has yet to be revealed. So based off of what you were saying, Brendan, the stage that's been set with her match with Shida, that hopefully she is a competitor in the Deadly Draw tournament.
Well, I'm hoping that they actually outright sign her, but yes, I will be tuning in on Monday because they are starting the tournament on Monday on YouTube.
Oh wow, good to know.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll definitely be tuning in for that too.
So we will probably be saying a lot of things to each other on the Tuesday call about all the fun things that happen on that Monday YouTube channel. But
I'm excited.
Super excited. The opening tag I want to just swing back around to that. Was a little too chaotic. I made the joke about maybe seeing a little too much of Luchasaurus there because he was having gear difficulties. And those of you at home that didn't see the match, you can decide whether I'm talking about his face or his pants. But and that was kind of set the tone. Like all of that set the tone. It wasn't as good as it should have been as a result of a lot of that sloppy stuff. I still enjoyed it, but if I were doing the Wednesday Night War right now, they were winning in that segment. I would have been paying more attention to the other channel, and even with Lucha guys on there, because this just didn't have the feel that it needed to have. There was something missing.
Yeah, I agree. That I never really got into the rhythm for it personally. But then also we had a main event with some lucha. We had the no disqualification Tornado Tag Team match with Darby Allin and Jon Moxley versus Brian Cage and Ricky Starks. And this match started like outside before it ever started. And it was really, it was more hardcore than I expected in a main event match, especially for AEW. It was intense. Moxley and Darby Allin got the one. There was a skateboard with no wheels covered in thumbtacks. There were trash cans. There was a chair shot. Everything. What did you guys think about this? Like, this is the most hardcore main event we've seen in a long time. I don't even remember the last one that was quite like this.
Well, one of the reasons Mox doesn't work on TV a lot is because he likes to do hardcore, and Darby has never met a stupid stunt that he doesn't like. So
that's a great way to put it.
That's true.
What did you think, Miranda?
I know. I enjoyed this match, actually. I thought it was a different side or a different type of match because you really felt like it was Moxley and Darby's wheelhouse. But I really liked the chemistry Brian Cage and Starks.
Ricky Starks. I did too.
Yeah.
Like that
they have really good chemistry.
I don't get enough Ricky Starks yet on AEW. I really enjoy him and his character. And he looked incredible last night. He took the thumbtack spot and blood everywhere, and he still sold and he just looked so good. Like he could be a stuntman and do anything. He is incredible. I just loved seeing him and would love to see more of him on AEW, and I hope that this is kind of his vaulting towards the upper main event. He might need just a little polish yet, but when he got the microphone, he could talk. This guy's got it all, and Ricky Starks is going to be a big star someday. Oh yeah,
he was. For those of us who've been watching the NWA or seen him out on the West Coast, we've seen that he can talk, and we've seen his character work. So seeing him on this stage is fantastic. To your point, Miranda, I did enjoy that the story did seem to be that for lack of a better term, the faces, the two hardcore wrestlers, were clearly supposed to have but because Brian Cage in particular is just so powerful and his character is so dominant, that they were just always able to fight out and make it feel like they were going to win this match, even though they were being punished by two hardcore guys. It was just fantastic.
I really like the combination of Cage and Ricky Starks as well, because he's so smooth compared to Cage's raw muscle and kind of, like the Machine. He doesn't have to say much. When you look like that, you don't have to say much.
Not at all.
But Ricky Starks can talk so well, and I just love it. These guys I can't wait to see them. I want to see them in the tag scene off and on. They could rotate and do all kinds of things.
Yeah. I look forward to them in the tag team. I did get a little bit of vibes to a very early tag team with Cage there, like back when he was out here in Hollywood. Those of you that know what I'm talking about remember the Natural Selection, but that's just me being nostalgic.
Well, on the other side of the Wednesday Wars, we had NX, and again, I did flip between both channels pretty frequently throughout the night. Not as much lucha content on NXT, but we still had some really great segments. One of the early matches of the night was Shotzi Blackheart versus Martinez. Shotzi got some, but she really couldn't battle with just brute strength. You know, like she is just such a brutal fighter, you know, and I use that term very specifically with her. It's been a very interesting development where she has herself with Robert Stone, being part of the Robert Stone brand, because you'd think that she wouldn't need it. However, I mean, when we talk about, you know, having legit fighters in WWE, many of them need a mouthpiece, you know, a la Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman. So
exactly.
I think that. So, granted, we don't have much of a well-known. I only can cut a really good promo. It's been a little bit more comical as of yet, but maybe this is a good opportunity for her to have a solid mouthpiece and management in Robert Stone, and they, you know, deviate a little bit serious tone. She did win. Did beat Shotzi Blackheart in this match, and it does seem to bring her up a really dominant competitor in the women's division. So, I mean, that's just exciting. And Shotzi is still entertaining. She is one of the most entertaining members of the NXT roster now. She still comes Tank. And
I love the little Tank.
So I see still really be a top baby face sometime this year. I could see that continuing to grow. So
very soon.
Very exciting match between Mercedes and Shotzi. We also had a match between Isaiah Swerve Scott and Atlas. This also was a fantastic. I mean, both are really just great wrestlers here. And this has been kind of set up from the Cruiserweight tournament from several months ago. So you kind of already had that set up. It seems like both of them are going to be the next challenger for Legado de Fantasma's championship. Isaiah Swerve Scott did win. And I mean, I think that but this doesn't seem like the end of it, you know, from what I could tell. Really solid match there as well.
Oh, this was a great match.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah, I mean, I think in comparison with AEW, and they also throw in some kind of randomness sometimes with the promos and the vignettes, you know, and that could be for some fans a little bit more, you know, stimulating. But if you like solid, good wrestling, consistent, you know, entertaining, NXT is really your place on Wednesday. So, I mean, it kind of, you know, it comes and goes as far as, I think, you know, who wins or quote-unquote wins. I think that's a lot of times, you know, of course you have ratings, ergo the demo god. However, I think, you know, from someone's perspective, it really goes back and forth based off of what you're you know, what you're interested in as a wrestling fan. I really do want to get, though, to the promo with Keith Lee addressing Karrion Kross, because they talked about this. This actually was first at the beginning of the show. They had that old Armageddon piping song kind of playing with this vignette. So good. Yeah. Again, so good.
It was
so good. You don't need to do a lot for this. With, you know, the end is near and all that. It's perfectly timed with his character. And Keith Lee went out and addressed and Kross saying, you didn't need to do all that to get my attention. All you had to do was ask for a shot for me, and I'd come. He wasn't in grind or why, but he was. That's the thing. But then after, you know, Kevin Grimes going on talking about how he needs to, you know, get a shot. No, the answer is no. I could have answered that for you in a quick second. Scarlett Bordeaux came. I'm kind of teasing, you know, an appearance by Karrion. And he did show up, but on fourth right out, Karrion challenged Keith Lee for the NXT champion. So it does sound like that's something we're going to be getting. Keith Lee said yes, he's agreed to it. So hopefully
he's ready to whoop that ass.
Yeah. Ooh, and this is going to be something else. Very excited for it. But what do you guys think about this build-up to Keith Lee and Karrion Kross?
Please make that a takeover.
Oh, it has to be. Like, I don't see how they could do it any other way. Like, it's going to be so good. I am so excited for this.
Like that's where I'm at. Like even though there's a bunch of things that they could do in NXT that I really want to see, the only way this match is going to get all of the shine and spotlight is a co-main event, if not the only.
Yeah, I mean it could easily the talent of these guys. Like I say, I want to see Karrion Kross win. I hope he takes care of business, but I wouldn't be mad either way. Like I could go either way. There's so much talent there, and I just I'm excited. I'm really looking forward to this, and I think that at some point soon we're going to see a Legado del Fantasma kind of move into that main event reign, and so I would love to see Karrion Kross and Fantasma. I mean, I think those are both guys that just get it, and they could put on like a different type of lucha main event. So I selfishly hope for lucha reasons too that Karrion Kross wins. The possible matchups are so exciting, but oh gosh, either way, I don't think either one of them's a shoe-in to win. I don't think that Karrion Kross is. Yeah,
that's what makes this fantastic. Like, you know, to the point we made earlier about like the Diamante Shida match. Like we knew that was going to be good, but like it was being held back by the fact that we knew who was probably going to win. With it's wide open on this one.
Yeah,
there's no guarantee that either. I mean, for all we. A third guy is going to show up on the night of that, and that's going to be the guy that, you know, Taz comes out of a retirement. Like, who knows, right? That's just throwing out the weirdest, most absurd combination.
Things have happened,
right?
It's true, but yeah, you're right. I think the only thing that may overshadow this, depending on the placement of it, is going to be the ladder match for the NXT North American Championship. However, the way that they're kind of setting that up now is that they're really going with some more lesser known stars for that. Last night in the triple threat qualifying match for that slot for the ladder match, we had Dexter Lumis, Finn Balor, and Timothy Thatcher, which Dexter won.
That was a surprise.
So I think they're setting this up to really build up a new star with match. So that's the only other match I think of being the main event of TakeOver 30, but if they continue to build up the way that it doesn't need a lot too. I love the simplicity in this, and that's what makes it really good. I feel like in some ways where AEW kind of overdoes things a lot and kind of overthinks more dramatic or silly, NXT can do things in a very simple way that is very effective, and that's what you need, because when you have two big guys like Keith Lee and Karrion Kross in a ring, you know, you just got to tell a story of two men hungry for that title, for that opportunity, and the rest kind of will you know, vet itself out. So that's one. I'm in total agreement with you. I hope it is the main event. I hope they keep it this way. I hope it doesn't get too necessarily outrageous. You would think, because of the character of Karrion and also Scarlett Bordeaux, you know, very dramatic with their entrances and their promos and vignettes. But it's done in a way where it still isn't seen as too theatrical, I guess, like just with the right amount of theatrics.
Yeah, you still need a little bit of theatrics and presentation to get people excited and remind people this is a big deal, but you don't need a lot.
Well, as just a summary of all of them we've talked about, WWE, AEW, NXT, the results of all of these shows can be found on luchacentral.com. They post reviews and the results of all of these shows. So make sure you are going to luchacentral.com for all of these results.
Speaking of that, if you're listening to this and you haven't visited luchacentral.com, it's definitely time to do it. Luchacentral.com is your online home for Lucha Libre, where you can get all of the top news in English and in Spanish. Find the best curated video content and original content not seen anywhere else. Find when Lucha Libre events would be happening in your area. Find photo galleries from top photographers covering Lucha Libre around the world. Place to have your voices heard, from weekly polls to annual awards, seen and read by top executives and all of the major Lucha Libre promotions across the globe. And of course, it's free. LuchaCentral.com, your centralized place for all things. I mean, I may have been reading that like cheesy copy, but we have Jerry Jerry's doing all the good photography stuff this week.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And to
so
the point that Miranda
stuff.
just made with the coverage, I was able to catch up on my notes by reading the coverage on Lucha Central for all of these events. They cover the American and Mexican events as well. So please do check out our hosts. They put the bill for us to be here, so it's the least you can do.
Great. Well, speaking of awesome content on luchacentral.com, we got this.
You can't remember when. Well, now you can say. It's time for this week in Lucha Libre.
That's right. It's time for This Week in Lucha Libre History. Be sure to check in at luchacentral.com every single day for This Day in Lucha Libre by Pep Carrera for information, birth dates, anniversaries, and amazing videos all about Lucha Libre. It's at luchacentral.com, your place for all things Lucha Libre. This week, I chose July the 31st, 1998, and it was a match between Scorpio Jr. and El Hijo del Fantasma. This was one of the hottest El Hijo del Santo. This was one of the hottest feuds going in late 90s Lucha. Santo had been in a heel trio with Scorpio Jr. and Bestia Salvaje before he got to see the nature of the Scorpion, and Scorpio Jr. and Bestia, they turned on him. And during this feud, CMLL wanted to honor Hijo del Santo and his legendary father by holding a tournament, and it's now their most prestigious tournament of the year called La Leyenda de la Plata, the Silver Legend. And it was a kind of a given that Hijo del Santo would win, but at the last minute, Scorpio Jr. won. And that was a big deal. Like, nobody saw this coming. He had healed it up the entire match. There were torn masks. They had to take Santo out on a stretcher. I mean, like, it was so unexpected. The crowd didn't expect it. It's kind of an amazing win. But this feud was so hot, and it would eventually, it was like a super hot feud in the 90s, and it would eventually win with Santo winning Scorpio Jr.'s mask down the line. And I highly encourage everyone that hasn't seen the pieces of this feud before to check it out. There's another match at the next year's La Leyenda de la Plata between the same guys, but this time Santo wins and gets his win back. It's incredible. The storyline for Scorpio Jr. is amazing. He went from being Rey Feo, the King Ugly, to being with Shocker and Los Guapos. And, like, I don't know how you go from being the ugliest man in CMLL to one of the 3 most handsome men in CMLL, but apparently all you have to do is bleach your hair blonde.
Only in wrestling.
Yeah. Look, the 90s taught us that, okay?
Yeah. And so I chose this more for the entire storyline and where everybody went, because if you were watching CMLL at the time, or even if you've caught up in retrospect, like a lot of us have, especially during COVID, this was an incredible storyline, incredible feud, and a great way. And the pay-per-view itself, the tournament, was incredible. I highly recommend it to everybody. This was some of the most exciting work in Lucha Libre, and it shows why El Hijo del Santo is almost as big of a star as his father.
A year to settle a feud, like, that's really unheard of right now. Mm-hmm. Like, you can barely get a WWE audience to put up with 6 weeks, but a year, that's amazing. I love it.
What did you pick this week, Brendan? I think yours was kind of related.
It's true. I also had a Leyenda de Plata tournament. This week I chose July 30th, 2004, where El Hijo del Perro Aguayo won the 6th version of the Leyenda de Plata tournament. This time for this win, he beat El Felino. And This Week in Lucha Libre History actually has that match as well as the part that I chose, which was the presentation of the trophy. The reason that I chose this was because it did start. It's about to start a feud. It may not be the feud that people initially were thinking it was going to be, although the historians all know exactly what it is. They were presenting the plaque with a silver mask on it to Perro Aguayo, and he has the microphone, and basically he says, I don't really want this. I entered this tournament to prove that I'm the best, and here I am. I've won. I don't need this because True Legend is sitting at ringside, and he points to his father, the original Perro del Aguayo, or del Perro, and then he proceeds to continue to talk about how El Santo was not a wrestler like his father, but was a movie star, and starts to smash the trophy itself, which
such good stuff. Yeah.
of course leads to Hijo del Santo and him having a brawl, and then of course there was a subsequent feud, which the two of them in a feud. If you are looking for something to get kind of a good feel for two major figures in the history of wrestling, like that is the feud that you can't go wrong with. You're getting two second generation wrestlers who had absorbed all of the performance as well as the actual wrestling aspects of it. Despite what he said, Hijo del Santo is a fantastic wrestler, and so you've got a lot of good wrestling out of the subsequent feud. I enjoyed all of this, but seeing that promo the first time blew my mind, because that, to me, that was just so above and beyond. Like, I've seen people smash trophies before, but I've never seen it done by the winner. Right? I've usually
Very true.
So that was where I was at. The Leyenda de Plata, to the point that you were making, and that is a fantastically prominent tournament that happens usually in July most years. We obviously are not getting one this year, but it are looking through your This Week in Lucha Libre history, and you see something that's even part of that tournament, it's probably worth checking out, because you're going to get somebody who is part of a major part of our history, if not a legend. And the tournament itself usually was a big launching point for feuds or a resolution for feuds. So there's just always good stuff on there. And with all of that lead up of both of us talking about CMLL tournaments, what do you have for us, Miranda?
Something a little bit different. I also picked July 30th, but I went for July 30th, 2011, when AAA presented the 15th edition of Verano de Escándalo in Guadalajara, Jalisco. And very much a tradition, Verano de Escándalo was an annual event for AAA. Also another event that has been postponed / killed by COVID. They were planning to do one this year, and unfortunately they couldn't. When I more about Verano de Escándalo, I got very much of a summer vibe. Is that right?
That's the feeling I get from it, that it's kind of like a party, and like sometimes they're like Riviera Maya when they have it and stuff. So I've always got a summer vibe.
Yeah. That's how I got it. At least for those, American audience that are trying to envision what this particular event looks like. That was the correlation that popped up for me. But really, when I was looking at this event too, I also noticed that there was this was also a big time where AAA was working a lot with TNA. And there was a pretty healthy presence of TNA stars on this card. In one of my favorite matches, an 8-way elimination for the Reina de Reinas championship, you had the champion was Mari Apache facing off against Lolita, Blake, Fabi Apache, Cynthia Moreno, Nikki James, Sexy Star, and Pimpinela Escaleta, who is an exotic. Yes, that was in this match. I mean, we talk about one of the reasons why I got more of a lighthearted event was because of this match, which was did have a referee who was part of La Sociedad faction, who during the beginning of the match really heavy and stable mate Jennifer Blake and Sexy Star. But yeah, Pimpy, she had a very big presence throughout this match and was very fun and entertaining, and won And interesting, too, is that Mari was eliminated towards the end of the match. So you knew you were going to get a new champion. The last two were Mickey James and Pimpinela. So their whole interaction very funny and entertaining. You also saw a 6-man tag match with Drago, Electroshock, and Heavy Metal versus Samoa Joe, Silver Timo Gladiator. Monsters Ball match, Chessmen defeating Abyss, Tiger, and Joe Leader. This was the two big matches of the night. Was a three-way elimination match, three-way elimination for the AAA chip with Dr. Wagner, Jeff Jarrett, and LA Park. Which really the big thing about this was shenanigans. Like, that was a big thing. I feel like this presence of TNA just had throughout this whole event was shenanigans, lots of distraction. In this one, Karen Jarrett came to ringside and inserted herself in the match. The main event, though, if you were a big fan of, really intense matches, cage matches with hardcore rolls, it was a 6-man steel cage match, and it was an apuestas match, hair versus hair, with Los Psycho Clowns, Monster Clown, Murder Clown, and Psycho, because Los Perros del Mal, Damian 666, Halloween, and X-Fly. The Los Psychos Circus won. X-Fly had his head shaved in the middle of the ring. So lots of good matches, but that was a big thing. Like, I got this feel that it was an equivalent of SummerSlam, and the present is that much more outrageous. I don't know if that was normal for that time frame or a particular event, but, it's very entertaining.
So very much when TNA was going down there for shows, their presence was all about, we're going to have lots of interference, we're going to have lots of distraction. Everybody had a manager or a tag team partner with them.
Yes.
That was very so that it was good storytelling. I don't think that was exclusive to Verano de Escándalo, although other events from them in the past have also had more bizarre matches, interesting ends like that. I didn't even mention, what was it, the Park family were, it was La Parca, I think, at the end of the match, got taped onto this cross that looked like a cross. But yeah, that was part of a bigger rivalry as well. So I didn't even mention La Parca got strapped onto a cross at the end of his match, and that was like disqualification. So it was very random as far as just all of the shenanigans happening. And no one in TNA was involved in the match, but this one was more storyline driven than a lot of the other ones, like deeper storylines. So that I appreciated that. But yeah. Strapped on a cross. I don't know. I mean, that's what he does on Sunday, the thing for him. That takes me back to a really fun time. I want to go back and watch more AAA from that couple of years. Cause
it was a lot of fun in that era.
And, I mean, like you were talking about that Monsters Ball match and Chessman winning. I remember being very surprised that that Chessman won in what was pretty much a TNA match. So, yeah.
Well, you can find all of these dates and more at luchacentral.com. It's under the history category, so you can view each of these events. Many of these have YouTube links associated with them, so you can watch the full videos as well. And let us know what were some of your favorite days this week in Lucha Libre history. And it's just one of my favorite parts of the website. One of the few things that makes the luchacentral.com so unique is that every day.
Yeah, definitely. There's so much more than we can ever talk about on the podcast. Just every day, there's so much more. And video, photos, it's the place, yeah.
This is legit the hardest part of planning this show, is the three of us trying to figure out what of the giant list of things we've got we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
100%.
It is. But it's one of the funnest as well, because I think all of us learn, especially me, being a little bit more of a novice compared to Dusty and Brendan. It really is a fantastic way of learning so much about important moments, figures, events. through Lucha Libre, and that's part of the culture, Lucha Libre, recognized history as well. So it's a beautiful thing. You're missing out if you're not looking at this every day. Make sure you do that at show.com. Now, a quick commercial from one of our partners, chairshot.com.
Why should you visit thechairshot.com? Thechairshot.com is your home for hard-hitting reviews, news, opinion, and analysis with attitude. Why? Because you're smarter than the average fan. Thechairshot.com. Always use your head.
So as we are headed to the last leg of the show, or to say, I want to talk, and of course as a team we all will be talking about this, starting the conversation on Mission Pro. Mentioned them several in past episodes. This is the promotion in Texas that has been revamped, being kind of co-speared, co-headed by Thunder Rosa. This promotion has existed for quite some time. It's being relaunched as an all. So on their social media pages, they've been announcing talent, and we do have a full list of talent that is going to be at their first show, Hell Hath No Fury. And it's a pretty stacked roster, stacked card already. There's been some notable names on there, and again, many of these wrestlers have been part of the Texas scene, but some of you may know them from other areas of the U.S. We have Jenna Lynn, Roxy, La Rosa Negra, Alex Gracia, Baby D, Vert Vixen, Rachel Rose, Killa Kate, Promise Braxton, Maddie Renkonowski, Jenna Van Muscles, Avery, Lindsay Snow, and, of course, Thunder Rosa. But a big announcement that happened this week that wasn't expected in one of the match announcements. La Rosa Negra is in a match against Big Swole from A. So Big Swole was not originally announced as part of this event, but that's going to be a very fantastic match to see. We have also had announced a tag match, Vert Vixen and Jenna Lynn versus Promise Braxton, Killa Kate. But I would have to say the biggest news that have come out, and this was announced earlier this week, is that Thunder Rosa is going to defend the NWA Women's Championship against Lindsay Snow, the American Kaiju.
Yes, the American Kaiju.
This is going to be
I'm so excited.
One, this is going to be Thunder Rosa's first time that she's going to be defending this outside of WA as far as the weekly shows. And it's going to be, pretty much the only NWA belt that's been defended in quite some time. So I think that that's a fantastic aspect of the show, but also good for the NWA. I know that, again, there was that speculation at one point that the NWA wasn't come back. Billy Corgan, though, has stated that it will be, hasn't details about it yet. So still lots to consider. But those are just some of the matches that have been announced. We also have Maddie Renkonowski versus Baby D, Alex Gracia versus E. Taylor. So the card of itself, scheduled for Friday, is getting, it's a pretty stacked card.
Absolutely, I'm super excited for this particular event, and seeing that they are going to defend the women's title, the NWA women's title on that event. It's just I'm trying to figure out if I can physically afford to go to Texas right now. That's where I'm at.
Well, they do have tickets available at ProWrestling.net.
Absolutely.
And it does look like they are going to be streaming this live as well for people to attend. We will have a commentary team as well. Holodead, notable wrestler. She's wrestled all over the U.S. and is a former tag partner, still current tag partner of Thunder Rosa. She's going to be on commentary as well as Brittany Nicole, who's a commentator, owner of her own promotion, Elevate Pro, Louisiana. So it's really, it's not only just with all of the talent, but commentators and other roles really going to all be set by women. So this is a really it's unfolding to being a really awesome event.
but both that commentary team are still active wrestlers. So expect maybe some wild surprises at some point during the night, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Holiday, so she is also part of the customs matches that you can order at prowrestling.net. They do have through their website the ability to order custom matches, and on there they list a lot of other great both Thunder Rosa and Holiday are listed there. Alex Gracia, and then also Alabama, Andra Lion, Vixen, Baby D, and Insidious Ones. They are listed on the poster for custom matches. So that's also something to do. There is a deadline of August to order a custom match. So if that is something that you are interested in, you can go to missionprowrestling.net. They're also media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can follow them in Pro Wrestling.
And you can also throw your suggestions straight at Thunder Rosa, who will then tell you to follow Mission Pro Wrestling. But
yes. So we'll bring you hear about it from Mission Pro Wrestling. That they still have several matches that are probably left to announce for Hell Has No Fury. For one of the other topics tonight, though, it was mentioned during Lucha Central briefly as one of the other podcasts on the network are going to be talking about it. But we also did as well because it was a pretty big deal. In this past last week, San Diego Comic-Con went virtual for the first time ever. And that means all of them were done online. And for the first time ever, we had a Comic-Con panel dedicated to Lucha Libre. Brendan, can you tell us more about it?
Sure. So they had a moderator and they had three personalities. This is something that I felt like everything with the publicity on it made it feel like this was an event that was going to happen at Comic-Con regardless of whether it was online or not. And the natural affinity between San Diego and Mexico, Tijuana, is kind of loans itself to this. I know many people who live in San Diego and will go across the border to see a wrestling show when things are more normal. So we had Mauricio Lyman, I believe is how they said his name. He's the director and owner of the Mexican Museum of Lucha Libre, which is located in Tijuana. We had Salvador Luderoth, CEO of Promociones Mexico, and then the Coliseo Revolution. He's a major part of the CMLL organization. And lastly, we had Rey Mysterio Sr., who has both of his eyes, so he's still doing better than his son, but only because that's a silly storyline that I have to make jokes about all the time. But yeah, so they talked with all of them about that. I'm still working my way through it. It's a 40-minute long panel in Spanish, so I have to go really slow on this. I have heard Salvador Luderoth talk for a long time about years and years. He referred to himself as a third generation wrestling business person. His family has been all over wrestling in Mexico since the 20s and 30s. From the sound of it, and the respect he has for the sport, the culture, the art of it is pretty staggering. Like he could easily just be like, "This is my paycheck. This is just what I do. My dad did it before me, and his dad did it before him." But he knows. He didn't mention a lot of wrestlers by name, but he was alluding to them in such a way that I was able to really feel like he had a strong knowledge of the history that was involved in the sport, and that he was very respectful of that, and I really enjoyed that. And I've seen some pictures from the museum that they showed during the stream, and that is fantastic. And that largely started with Mauricio being sad that when children were growing up, they started throwing away their wrestling toys. So he just the museum started because he basically told them he would take toys instead of them being thrown in the trash. Which,
oh wow,
yeah.
As a toy collector, that's like,
yeah, right? Yeah, all the American toy collectors. What? So, but that's as far as I'm only partway. I'm really enjoying this. That's probably what I'm gonna do after we're done recording is finish watching that and see what Rey Mysterio Sr.
Yeah, I also was only able to go through a portion of it, but I think, especially in the beginning, as far as being able to really discuss the importance of having a panel that talks about lucha libre, because also we're starting to see now pro wrestling in general being part of pop culture. But they really talked about that, especially in lucha libre, that's always kind of been a thing. With lucha libre being incorporated into movies and art and pop culture for much of the history of its existence in Mexico. And now we're starting to see that a little bit more on the American side. So that acknowledgement of it is something that was very cool, and to have like the museum as the ability for fans to be able to see that and witness that. I know on the American side we do have aspects of that too, but like I said, I just it's much more with art and culture in Mexico.
It's much more ingrained. Like you don't have the disconnect right now where people like to remind me that wrestling is fake when I say I like to watch wrestling or talk about wrestling. They all seem to understand that on some level, but they still talk about it, and they still you can walk down a street in Mexico and pictures of luchadors. You can see magazines. You can more wrestlers right now during COVID are making their living by selling masks and face shields with more lucha libre stuff on it, because people want that. They don't want to just have an ordinary face mask. They want to have their favorite lucha stuff on it.
Oh yeah, I'm one of those people.
Well, yeah, I've got like 3 face masks myself that are all lucha right now, and I've got a lineup of more that are in the mail. So, but I mean, to that point though, that's just so much more ingrained. Like it's not a big deal for a grown man to have a face mask with luchador eyes on it in Mexico. It's just, hey, I like Rey Mysterio too. Is that junior or senior, right? Like, Dusty, you talking about the kids that were just shouting at you about how excited they were about Rey Mysterio in that with your first mask, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was a seminal moment in my mind,
Yeah.
And like the whole future unfolded before me that day.
Well, speaking of Dream, we also got a big piece of news earlier today from Deadline.com, and it's actually regarding a new movie that is going to be developed regarding one of the most famous luchadors right now, and a very famous actor who is set to play him. Gael Garcia Bernal is going to be stepping in to star in Cassandro, about the exotico character Cassandro, who has been dubbed the Liberace of Lucha Libre. And when this broke, this was something that I think a lot of Lucha Libre fans were very, very excited about. The story of Cassandro has been highlighted in several documents all over the world, really. And his stories is very in general. And the concept of exotic is very different compared to many other styles of wrestling. And we've mentioned that before just on this show, and how it doesn't always translate to the American audience. However, it does sound like something like this could really help bring to the forefront not only just the story of Lucha Libre, but the story of pretty much the world's most exotic.
Indeed, yeah.
Yes, yeah, easily.
What are your guys' thoughts on?
I'm excited that it's going to share the exotico culture and Lucha Libre. I'm thinking here in Seattle, I'm going to be able to get a lot of people to go to this movie that wouldn't go see a wrestling movie normally because of some of the subtext of Cassandro being out and open about many aspects of and I think that's going to be the selling point. That's going to, assuming we can all go to the movie theater when it comes out, but that
maybe you can all watch it on Zoom over the Amazon Prime together.
Yeah.
Well, that's what part of this article does talk about, that there's some speculation that the filmmakers are in talks with Amazon. So it may be on an Amazon Prime type of deal, may not be released in movies, which, for a lot of people would be fine. But now he does have a little bit of with Amazon. He was on the series Mozart in the Jungle for several seasons. Also, the article states that they're looking to start filming for this in November in Mexico. So hopefully, going all the way back to the beginning of the shows with COVID-related issues, that hopefully there's more stability with that, so delay. Because best case scenario, looks like we will get that sometime next year. Worst case, if there's delays in filming, go down to 2021. 2022. So hopefully record to film this. But I think it's highly anticipated with a very, very good actor as well. So I think it also feels like this film is going to be treated with respect, what it deserves. I hope Cassandro is involved in it. He will be.
Yeah.
And the fact that he'll be filming in Mexico means we may see other luchadores in there. I mean, the article did talk about, his big match against Hijo de Santo. His first UWA title win. So whether that we know of or other actors who play those, that will also be very interesting as well to see who steps into the ring to play some of these other roles.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear about that. So does the article talk about training at all? Is the actor going to be training with luchadors?
That's a good question. It just states that we'll shoot the movie first before, or so he has an M. Night Shyamalan movie that he has to film first, and then he's going to step into the ring for Cassandro in sometime in November. So it doesn't state specifically yet. I imagine yes. I mean, someone is so well, probably immersed. One of the reasons probably he was so drawn to this is this understanding of lucha culture that he probably would want. I'm sure there are going to be some bits. Maybe there's a stunt double. I don't know. We'll see. But that's a very good point as to, who would be involved in his training.
Right.
And, if maybe there's some time in Hollywood, if he's LA, I'm sure there's going to be some schools out there who can help in some initial for Gael Garcia Bernal.
Oh, yes, absolutely. There are tons of schools that we've talked to on this very show that will happily help you out. But, I was very curious about that. I mean, if he's in Mexico City and they're able to have classes by then, there's some fantastic teachers down there as well. So I am very excited to hear how that plays out. I am positive that he's going to spend some time training.
Well, and with this idea that Cassandro's story is going to be made into a movie, do you think we're going to start seeing more Cassandro merchandise out there?
Oh, I hope so. It's impossible right now. Like, even if you get on eBay, you cannot find a Cassandro t-shirt. Like, I've looked, you can't find one. So I hope that this kind of opens up, like, I want a Cassandro action figure, I want one. They should make one. Like, it would be so cool. And then, like, the t-shirts and things, like, there's just things like that I wish we had access to that even people in Mexico don't have access to. So hopefully this kind of bumps up enough interest in him that he can open up some merchandise.
So I definitely think that's going to bump some stuff up here. So while my little informers didn't do so great with keeping me ahead of things for the product there, for products that are out there right now, I have heard that Legends of Lucha Libre is going to be making an announcement about Cassandro by the time of this recording. So,
excellent.
Yes.
That is very exciting. And the reason too I ask is because also the timing of this is because I was to my mom the other day, and we were talking about how I discussed with all of you the idea exotic And for me, watching more from Netflix, the document of Warfare Mercado, how the ideas were kind of similar to me. And the first picture that came up when looking up exoticos, or the one that I had in mind, was Cassandro. That was the very first. And so I went and I showed my mom up Cassandro, saying, this is what an exotico kind of looks like. This is what, their character is like. Because, again, I think Spanish culture, it is, even though that it is part of, and it is one where overall exóticos, and eating that during, Verano de Escándalo, just watching that from 2011, very well received and very well liked, and it just adds flair and drama to the matches and to lucha libre, and it's just so different and sometimes very hard to explain. So I think truly when you think of exóticos, the one that comes to mind is Cassandro. I just did this, a few days ago, talking to my mom, and so I think it's just fantastic for lucha libre, especially for Cassandro. I believe this is going to be a great movie, and I hope that this continues more of a fan base for him, and there is more even American crossover where we can't find his merch because it's every and I think there's just the sky is lots of endless opportunities. So very excited though to hear that Legends of Lucha Libre may have some things in the works with him.
Well, so there will be an announcement. I don't have details on what the announcement is, but that always leads to more merch suddenly popping up. So this will be your time, Dusty. Pay attention. It might be a small window.
I'll get my wallet out.
Lord knows they might sell out faster than the Penta mass on luchamass.com, but
Lucha stuff has been flying off the shelves. Chalkline had some Eddie Guerrero gear that sold out in less than an hour.
Go figure.
Lucha, the market is hot right now for Lucha.
Go figure. You put masks on everybody, and suddenly you got to have all the luchador stuff.
Yeah.
I'm going to be hipster about it for a little while. I was there first.
Yes. And you have every right to do. So, everyone, thank you for joining us for another edition of Central Weekly podcast. We are just so happy to our episode this week and hope you join us next week. Don't forget, you can go to luchacentral.com to get all your latest news and information on everything Lucha Libre. We talk about the results from AEW, WWE, NXT, all of that you can find on luchacentral.com. Various independent promotions, the big promotions to go, as well as This Week in Lucha Libre history, all of that. It's at lucha.com. You can also follow Lucha on Facebook and on Instagram at Lucha Central. You can also follow them on Twitter at luchacentral.com. And, of course, they're full of matches and interviews. However, if you want to follow us, well, we'd be happy to have you follow us on social media. Dusty, can you let our listeners know where they can find you?
I'm on Instagram at Dusty Murphy, and I'm on Facebook at facebook.com/Dusty Murphy.
And Brendan, where can listeners find you?
I am on both Instagram and Twitter. As I like to point out, I am much more active on Twitter. So it's 321 T-shirt guy on both of those.
And me, Miranda Morales, well, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at the #Miranda, hashtag spelled out, to let us know what you think of the show. And also, as you're listening to the show, maybe you're listening to it on Spotify, on iTunes, on Podbay, Speaker, on iHeartMedia, even on YouTube. Make sure you rate, you subscribe. Let us know what you think of our show. Give us ideas of things that we should talk about in the future. We're happy to hear those suggestions. Speaking of suggestions, we are still looking for a trio's name. So we are a trio's podcast. We have to have trio's name. So if you have any suggestions, let us know. Write to us on social media or on YouTube. We're happy to suggestions because there may be a T-shirt in it for you. We will pick our favorite suggestion, and if it's you, well, then you could probably get a free shirt, exclusive T-shirt. So
Emmett Brown is getting pretty confident about that, by the way. Emmett Brown on YouTube.
Oh, boy.
He pointed out that he can't top his previous show suggestions, but FYI, I wear a size small. So
I love it. Lucha Talking About is still my favorite so far. So he should feel confident. He's got a reason. it's not bragging if you can back it up, and he's done backed it up.
Back it up. Oh my gosh. Yes. Well, if you have a good idea, if you want us to give out a shout out to you, leave a comment. Let us know. Reach out to us on social media, and maybe during our next episode, we give a shout out to you. So you never know. Emmett, we appreciate you as a listener. Thank you so much for your suggestions, and we will keep your T-shirt size in mind. Okay, no promises. It's still an open field, but
we haven't even come up with rules for this yet. So.
Oh yeah, well we make it up. Isn't that pro wrestling? That's what I thought pro wrestling
totally
was?
Right. Yeah. No, you got it.
Yes. Well, for Brendan Barr and Dusty Murphy, I'm Miranda Morales. Thank you so much for listening to the Lucha Central Weekly podcast. We will be back next, and hope you are too.
Adios, amigos.